What would happen if the entire world was destroyed after mutual nuclear attacks between various countries? But amidst this very disaster, the world's richest people built a special bunker for themselves. Hiding in it, they all saved themselves from dying along with the common people outside. Meaning, they are now the last human survivors left in this bunker. How did this all begin and what will happen next? Let's find out everything from the beginning. The story of the latest 2025 Apocalypse mystery series, Billionaire's Bunker, begins with Max, who had liked Annie since childhood. Both sets of parents were very rich, so no one ever had a problem with their friendship. They grew up together and eventually, when they became teenagers, they fell in love with each other. But one night, just as they were going to celebrate Max's 19th birthday, Max, accidentally under the influence of alcohol, crashed his car into a tree. He himself survived safely, but Annie died. After this, Max was sent to jail for a full 3 years. Initially, because Max was very rich, he would buy off the nearby prisoners with money so they wouldn't beat him up like the other ordinary prisoners. But slowly, he began to realize that because he was rich, he had never done anything on his own. His mistake had cost his love Annie her life, and now even in jail, he was surviving only on the strength of his money. Meaning, without his money, he was worthless. So from that day on, Max stopped paying money. Consequently, over time, all the prisoners around him started beating him like an ordinary person. One day, he was even locked inside a washing machine. And when he was taken out much later, he initially thought he would be killed. He thought he should again buy his safety by giving people money. But shortly after, he felt that the pain had stopped. He had been fearing this pain unnecessarily. Max now started standing up and behaving like the other ordinary prisoners. He had understood that if he wanted to survive in real life, he had to learn to change from a cowardly mouse into a man, like common people do who have no money. He started working on his body and participating in local fights within the jail. By the time his 3-year jail term was completed, he had become famous throughout the entire prison. But today, just as Max was released from jail, his father James, who had come to receive him outside, gave him some huge news. How a nuclear war was about to break out all over the world. Everything would be destroyed because no country was ready to back down. James further told Max that the common people outside knew nothing about this yet. But since they themselves were very rich and their connections went deep into politics, they had secretly found out about all this beforehand. Because they were so rich, James had booked a place in a special bunker for his entire family. There, they would be safe from the external nuclear war along with other rich families. James now started taking his son Max to that bunker via helicopter. Max saw that this bunker was built deep underground, even beneath a deep lake, so that the effects of the nuclear explosions above wouldn't reach it. Before entering the bunker, all of James and Max's phones and devices were confiscated, after which, they were given bunker clothes and health devices to wear on their wrists. Max quickly went inside to his mother and grandmother, who had already arrived before him. There, in the bunker, along with the families of other rich people, he saw Annie's family too. So Max quickly went to apologize to Annie's father, Howard, explaining how he had been drunk that night during the accident and that he was as sad about Annie's death as her family was. Annie's father Howard forgave him and offered to have Max's entire family join them for dinner that night. However, Annie's younger sister, Anna, was still angry. She didn't even want to see Maximum. Anna even taunted Max in front of everyone, asking if he was so sad about Annie's death, why did he run away after the accident? Though others quieted Anna down then. Shortly after, the owner of the entire bunker, Casey, arrived with her workers and began addressing all the rich families present. Casey told them how lucky they all were to be safe in this bunker thanks to their money, and would survive even after the outside world ended. A little later, Max went to apologize to Anna, saying he didn't cause the accident intentionally, and while saying sorry, he gave her Annie's phone which he had picked up after the accident and had kept with him for the past 3 years. Anna went to her room and started looking at all her sister Annie's photos and videos. But suddenly, vibrations started occurring throughout the entire bunker. Panic erupted everywhere. It seemed as if very large explosions were happening on the surface above them. Announcements started everywhere, telling all present to quickly run to the safer dome further below, because perhaps the nuclear war had started in the outside world. Meanwhile, Anna noticed that when her father was trampled in the panic, both Max and his father saved him and brought him to safety. Finally, after a short while, all the families gathered in the safe dome and started watching live footage from outside. Owner Casey informed everyone that their secret information was absolutely correct. Just a short while ago, many countries had simultaneously launched nuclear attacks on each other. meaning the world they all came from was now destroyed. After waiting a full day in the safety dome, Casey decided to send a special team outside, wearing safety suits, to check the outside world so they could know the conditions. Everyone below also started watching that team on camera. They saw that deadly radiation had now spread everywhere outside after the nuclear explosions. Meanwhile, a worker named Lucas was looking at a car when a strong gust of wind caused an iron rod to cut his suit, meaning he was now exposed to radiation, and he started running around screaming in pain. So the rest of the team caught him and brought him back to the bunker so they could research the radiation and its effects. All the families inside the bunker understood that what they feared had happened. Nothing was left outside now. Only the people present in this bunker were the sole survivors. Furthermore, due to the radiation, they couldn't even go back up, so they didn't know how many months or years they would have to stay in this bunker until the surface conditions became livable. Meanwhile, owner Casey went with her other workers to see the injured companion, Lucas. But surprisingly, once they were outside the safe dome /area, Casey started celebrating this moment with everyone, and here comes the story's biggest twist. In reality, no nuclear attack had actually happened outside. Everything bringing these rich people with their families to this bunker and then staging the nuclear war outside was all pre-planned by Casey and her team. The footage of everything happening outside had been secretly created by their personal AI to make it look real. Days ago, Casey had explained to her team that they wouldn't be able to easily fool these rich people, so they had to plan everything very carefully. They had masterfully simulated the bunker explosions and the outside vibrations to make everything seem real, and now their plan had succeeded. All the rich people were hiding in this bunker believing they couldn't go outside. On the other hand, when Anna went to the bathroom, she heard the sound of someone falling in the side room. When she opened the door, she saw a woman about to take her own life. So Anna quickly cut the rope and saved her life. It turned out that now all these rich people would have to live in this small bunker. After coming here, their status meant nothing. All their earnings and wealth were now gone. They couldn't cope with this change in lifestyle. Soon, the main bunker doors opened because more than a day had passed since the supposed nuclear explosions, and Casey said the surface above had calmed down a bit. Casey and her workers started applying makeup to the employee Lucas, whom they had pretended to send into the radiation, so that the people here wouldn't even think about going outside. Meanwhile, problems had started between Max's father James and his mother Nina. Nina had known for years that James had affairs with other women outside. But back then, she couldn't leave him because he was rich. But now, after coming to this bunker, there was no outside world left, meaning James's money and wealth were now meaningless. So Nina angrily confessed to him that she no longer needed to stay with James. She was only with him for his money, and from now on she would do what she wanted. Mr. James, upon learning this truth from his wife, became very angry. He started causing a scene outside and began wasting the shared rations without permission. So Casey's guards quickly came and started tarzing him. However, Max arrived then and started fighting all those security guards for his father. He had physically strengthened himself in jail, so he had no trouble fighting all 4 guards at once. Though shortly after, owner Casey arrived and handled the situation. Things weren't going well between Anna's father Howard and his wife Mimi either. Mimi had also married Howard, despite his much older age, for his money. Later, some guards came to Mimi and said according to their records, her blood type was AB negative, which could be very useful for treating their member Lucas. Mimi was told that their member Lucas, who had gone into the radiation outside, was in very bad condition and they were looking for blood for his treatment. Therefore, they had called Mimi and 2 others from the bunker. This entire setup was actually to scare them from wanting to go outside by showing them Lucas's condition. The 3 were shown Lucas's made-up body. They were lied to, being told they couldn't save him and Lucas had died. After going into the deadly radiation outside, no one could survive. Casey's plan worked here too. As soon as they left, Mimi and the other 2 members started telling their respective family members how the worker Lucas, caught in the radiation, had died in a terrible state. Back in the control room, Casey and all the workers celebrated again how easily they were fooling these rich people. This time, Casey's sick brother Jack was also present, whom Casey always kept by her side. Casey now told all her workers that the time had come to take the next step of their plan, meaning, after bringing all these rich people to the bunker, they would now complete the next part of their plan. Someone reminded them how they had researched Howard's entire background. When Howard was born, his family was already very rich, so he got a ready-made business. Howard started expanding it and, using his money, soon became the owner of more than 60 private companies. Howard's name was now included in the list of the world's richest people, so when Casey and her team were working on this bunker scam, they extracted every detail about Howard from front to back so there would be no flaw in their plan. Actually, Casey had always hated rich people intensely, believing that these wealthy people use their money to prevent common people from advancing so that their own monopoly isn't reduced. So that's when Casey got the idea to trick the rich people and keep them in her bunker. Casey was sure that the rich would only think about saving themselves without considering the world's common people, and that's exactly what happened. So Casey and her entire team had decided together that they would take all the rich people's details, distribute all their money and wealth among the common people, and that's why, after trapping people in the bunker, they first chose Howard to take the details of all his money and safes from the outside world, and then they would distribute all his wealth to the poor. Later, Casey gathered everyone and said that last night James, after fighting with his wife, had wasted a lot of food, and since they now had limited food left after the end of the outside world, as punishment, everyone would now receive very little food. Actually, Casey said this so that everyone would remain constantly serious about the situation, giving no one any opportunity to think about these things or suspect them. Casey now scolded Max in front of everyone for fighting the guards for his father and demanded he return the taser machine he had taken from the guards during the fight. Casey here also remembered how cleverly she had removed them all from the outside world in such a way that no one would suspect where all the world's rich people had gone. Her entire team had together created AI clones of all those rich people. And when, at the story's beginning, they were collecting everyone's phones, using those phones they opened everyone's real social media accounts and uploaded fake AI videos of them, saying they were all going on holiday with their families for several months and no one should contact them. Meaning, now in the real outside world, no one would look for them, and by the time anyone got suspicious, Casey's plan would already be complete. Additionally, they kept all their numbers active. So if anyone from outside called or messaged their numbers, the bunker's AI system would answer them in their owner's language. Meaning, relying on AI, someone had achieved all this. Even today, while all phones were still connected to the AI, a call came from Howard's business partner, Stan, as it had for the past several days. Stan was very angry that Howard was just messaging him saying he was on holiday, but he should remember they had a very big deal to complete. Seeing this, Casey's team became worried about how to handle it. Meanwhile, inside the bunker, the rich families had started to break down. Now that they believed all their money and social hierarchy were gone after the world ended, everyone started fighting with each other. Someone's wife left him, someone's children were abandoning their father. Meaning, everyone's dark secrets started coming out. Many realized that it was only because of money and power that so many people stayed around them. Otherwise, no one would even like to look at them. Meanwhile, Casey's team staged another drama, claiming they had received signals from a plane outside. From it, they learned that radiation from the nuclear explosions had started leaking beyond Earth's orbit, meaning the situation had worsened, and they wouldn't be able to go outside for many months. By now, Casey's team had prepared Howard's AI model, and the constant calls from his business partner Stan were coming on his phone. So now Casey, using Howard's AI model, started talking to Stan herself. They learned that Stan and Howard had decided at a party some time ago to buy another large company with their black money. That's why Stan kept calling him. After learning this, Casey became very angry that Howard, who already owned 60 companies, still wasn't free from greed. Using Howard's AI model, she also found out that the black money Howard had told Stan about was kept in a secret safe in Howard's house. However, its password would only be with the real Howard. So Casey decided with her team that they would trick the Howard in their bunker into revealing his safe's password through conversation, and then they would seize his and his business partner Stan's black money and distribute it to the public. Here, Casey started remembering her past. How when she was 12 years old, some rich kids at her school always made fun of her and her brother because they were very poor, although both siblings were always very intelligent. But seeing their father's poverty, one day their mother also left them. On top of that, their father was already an alcoholic, so the two siblings, Casey and Jack, were left alone relying on each other. As they grew up, to build their careers, they started working and studying even harder. They had always been taught in school that big and rich people are those who work and study harder than others, so they studied even more. Soon they completed many degrees, but once they created their own artificial intelligence, they thought they would surely succeed. However, in the coming time, they began to learn the bitter truth of our human society. Without funding, they couldn't launch their AI in the market, and any investor willing to give funding would mostly keep the majority of shares for themselves. Then Casey understood that hard work alone amounts to nothing. The big rich people would never let people like them rise up. Meanwhile, rich kids became owners of big companies without doing anything. And then once money came, no one could shake them. And it was from then that Casey decided to fulfill her bunker idea. They had already built the artificial intelligence, so they just had to use it in their personal bunker plan. Then Casey started carefully finding all those people who, like them, were talented and hardworking but had been prevented from advancing by rich people at some point in life, and had remained just corporate laborers. Now, in the present, Casey said she had an idea for how to get the safe's password from Howard. Since Howard had been quite rich but was now isolated in this bunker, they would give him what he had stopped receiving, attention. After arriving here, Howard's wife had left him. No one even talked to him properly. So Casey now sent a young female companion of hers named Ingrid to charm Howard. And just as they thought, exactly that happened. Howard very easily became friends with Ingrid. After all, since people around him found out his money was now useless, no one gave Howard any attention, and Casey's team took advantage of this. After a few days of friendship, one day Ingrid suggested to Howard that since the outside world was destroyed, why not tell each other their bank and locker passwords? Initially, Howard found this very strange, but thinking that anyway the outside world was destroyed, where would banks and safes remain? So he told Ingrid all his bank and safe passwords with every detail. And with this, Casey's work was done. That's all they needed. They now quickly used Howard's AI model to have it tell the business partner Stan on a video call that he was giving him the safe's password. Stan should use all his money to buy a private startup company in Bangkok, and Stan would also invest his own money there. However, through Howard's AI model, Casey told Stan to buy the specific company she would tell him. Casey's entire plan was to have both Howard's black money and Stan's all money invested in a fake company that belonged to them, and then they would scam all of Howard and Stan's money. According to the plan, Casey further had the AI say that he, Howard, would also come to Bangkok and finalize the deal there. So far, Casey's plan was going perfectly, and after doing this with Howard, she would do something similar with the remaining families. However, by now, Max had started feeling a bit strange because of the bracelets they were given, supposedly to monitor their health. Max now suspected that microphones were installed in them, meaning Casey and her team listened to all their conversations through these bracelets. They had no privacy. So from here, Max decided to gather more information about this. But he needed a partner for this. So Max went straight to Anna and started telling her everything. However, he couldn't tell her verbally. So he first asked Anna to pretend that they would talk to each other as if they had fallen in love. In the meantime, Max started writing to her about his suspicions regarding the bracelet and Casey, saying he would soon find out everything and then they would have to go outside the bunker themselves to see if the world was really destroyed after nuclear attacks, because everything they had learned, all the visuals they had seen, were shown to them by someone. By writing it down, the workers monitoring them didn't realize Max had become suspicious. However, they found it odd that Anna, who initially hated Max because her sister Annie died due to Max's mistake, was suddenly getting close to him. But they didn't pay much attention. Max wrote that they would first shut down the bunker's system and all lights so the exit gates could open, and then they would wear safety suits and go outside themselves. So Max gave Anna the task of stealing safety suits from the other workers, while he would find the control room for the entire bunker system. However, they verbally said loudly, for the microphone bracelet, that they loved each other very much, after which, Max took Anna to his room to explain his further plan. In his room, Max first played loud romantic music so they could talk verbally. This made people in the control room outside think they were probably going to be intimate. Meanwhile, Max showed Anna how he had found an emergency exit in his room ceiling, meaning they just needed to create a distraction in the bunker so all the guards would leave the gate, and the two of them could escape the bunker. For the distraction, Anna also had an idea. She said she had been a chemistry student and with the chemicals available, she could mix them to create a small bomb. Its explosion would divert the attention of all the guards and Casey for a while. Meanwhile, according to Casey's plan, Stan, as instructed by Howard's AI model, went to Bangkok to see the company Howard had told him to buy. However, Stan didn't think the company looked right, and he video called Howard again to complain how the company didn't seem special and had no major record. So why was Howard betting so much money on buying it? Just then, as per Casey's plan, her companion Lucas arrived at the company posing as another investor who pretended to invest even more money. This was the same Lucas who had earlier pretended to die from radiation in the bunker. Casey had sent him as an investor to increase the fake company's shares and rates, making Stan think the company was very big. Casey also had Howard's AI tell Stan to invest all his and Stan's money in this company, expressing full confidence in it. At the same exact time, Max finally went to the bunker's control room and shut down the entire system. This immediately caused Howard's AI model to shut down, and his video call with Stan abruptly ended. Now Stan was confused about whether to buy the company or not. Meanwhile, inside the bunker, without the AI, they couldn't answer Stan's calls because without the AI model, how would they talk to him? Meanwhile, Max and Anna, as per their plan, turned everything back on because their task was done. As soon as the AI was reactivated, Casey first had a call made to Stan because he was about to leave Bangkok after the call dropped. This time, Howard's AI again falsely assured Stan that he should trust him completely. This company would become very big in the future and benefit them greatly, so he should invest all his and his own money in it, which made Stan stop from leaving. Meanwhile, Max and Anna now waited for the bomb to explode before leaving. During this time, Max confessed to Anna how he had loved her older sister Annie very much. He still hadn't been able to forget her, but because Anna's face resembled her sister's, he had fallen in love with her too. By now, Anna had forgiven Max because she understood that the accident which killed her sister wasn't intentional, and he had already served a 3-year sentence for it. But still, Anna said she couldn't be in a relationship with her sister's boyfriend, so it would be better for them to stay apart. Casey was still busy handling Stan with her team, so her attention didn't go to Max and Anna. To keep Stan in Bangkok, Casey again used her companion Ingrid, the same Ingrid she had sent to Howard to get the password. Now Ingrid started befriending Stan and getting close to him. As per the plan, Ingrid's mother and father were going abroad, leaving her behind. So Stan went to Ingrid to keep her company. They started drinking and clubbing together. As planned, Ingrid got closer to Stan and assured him that the company Stan came to buy was legitimate and would become very big. Meanwhile, Casey, through Howard's AI, again told Stan to invest all the money in that company, and Stan went back to it. There, Lucas, posing as the other investor, kept placing large bids on the company, forcing Stan to increase his own bids. As per Casey's plan, when they felt Stan had reached the top of his bidding capacity, they let Stan win. But just as he was about to transfer all the money, suddenly the entire bunker system started shutting down again. Casey was very scared because Stan was just about to transfer the money. Luckily, after a short while, all the money arrived in their account, meaning their plan had succeeded. By now, inside the bunker, Anna's small bomb had exploded. So as the gas spread throughout the bunker, all the guards went there, and Max and Anna took advantage of this to escape the bunker through the rear emergency exit. Meanwhile, Stan, after completing all the dealings with the company, started returning on his private jet, thinking he had bought a very large company. But as he was leaving, he saw from his private jet that the woman who met him last night as Ingrid's mother was actually a famous Thai actress, whose posters were everywhere. Seeing this, Stan realized he must have been scammed. He noticed Ingrid's social media accounts were now disabled. So Stan quickly asked the pilot to turn his private jet around and rushed straight back to the company he had bought with his and Howard's money. But surprisingly, there was no one there now. Casey had tricked him very cleverly. Stan now video called Howard again, and after asking him some private questions this time, he became convinced that the person he had been talking to all these days, thinking it was Howard, was not the real Howard but an AI, used by scammers to rob him. So Casey's first target was complete. She had not only taken Howard's money but also his partner Stan's money, and she would now do the same with all the other rich people in her bunker. Meanwhile, Max and Anna, now together wearing safety suits, finally started going outside the bunker, where they would discover that the world outside the bunker was just as it was before, and Casey had fooled them all. And with this shocking cliffhanger, the first season of this incredible series ends right here. Now, after learning the whole truth, what will Max and Anna do? Will Casey be able to scam the others like she did with Howard and Stan? Will she be able to rob them? Everything will continue in the second season of this series, coming next year. So stay tuned to the channel for more new series like this.